Excellent. So hello everyone, thank you for joining our webcast today. It's hosted by VMware and Advanticom. So Advanticom is the Pittsburgh region's top IT consulting firm, and VMware, who needs no introduction, is a true pioneer of the cloud. So today we're going to be talking about the benefits of virtual desktops and end-user computing, and VMware's vision for EUC. We'll take a look at the VMware Horizon solutions as well as a few case examples. So my name is James Milliron. I'm the marketing director for Advanticom, and I will be taking a back seat for most of the presentation as our VMware experts will cover the topics that are within this presentation. So joining us on the line is Shez Hatton. She's the VMware end user computing specialist, and Matt Allen, who is a VMware sales engineer. And Stephen Lanteri may also be on the call. He's VMware Virtual Partner Sales Manager. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. And at this point, I will go ahead and turn it over to Shez to begin the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, James. So as James mentioned, my name is Shez Hatton. I am responsible for all the products that fall under the end-user computing umbrella here at VMware. So as you mentioned, I'm the end-user computing specialist here. So quickly, just the agenda, James kind of went over a little bit, but today the focus of the presentation is going to be on the Horizon piece of the end-user computing portfolio. We'll take you through a look at what EUC is, VMware's vision, and where we're headed with EUC and Horizon. And then I'll turn the time over to Matt, and he'll take you through a high-level discussion of the solutions within the Horizon portfolio and the deployment options within the additions. We have a couple of case studies from organizations that incorporated Horizon into their infrastructure we wanted to share with you as well. And throughout the presentation, James will be compiling all your questions, and we'll discuss those at the end of the presentation with the Q&A. So if you have any questions, just put them. You can put them in the Q&A window. Just make sure that you send it to all, so James is able to see those as well. And again, we'll address those at the end. And with that, we'll go ahead and we'll get started. So as you're probably aware, the rate of technology change is faster than ever. End-user computing is growing and will not slow down anytime soon. With the pace of these changes, the world of IT is becoming more complex and less secure, and IT has to manage a more diverse end-user setting from mobile devices to apps, desktops, and the cloud, and it's creating new challenges for IT. And organizations, they're looking for a way to deliver a rich, productive experience to users wherever they are, and at the same time decrease complexity and ensure high levels of security. The mobile cloud era is changing how we work, and at VMware, we are embracing these changes. In the past, companies had to deal with obstacles when accessing information and completing business tasks, and this led to huge amounts of non-productivity and a dissatisfied workforce. VMware is breaking through barriers that come from those traditional rigid workflows, reducing the amount of time employees spend completing tasks, moving from rigidity to fluidity, and employees are now able to work according to their preference, which naturally increases productivity. Now having that ability to work when they need to, wherever they are, changes the perspective as work is something you do, not somewhere you go. Okay, there we go. VMware's model is simple. One cloud, any application, any device. Our vision is to allow our end users to consume the applications and data they need from any device, and to deliver this in a unified platform a single cloud, whether it's private, public, or hybrid, that's flexible, secure, and easy to manage. And in essence, VMware's vision is about enabling a software-defined workspace that allows everyone to work at the speed of life. There's no limits to end users and how they want to work, whether they're in a coffee shop, if they're at home, if they're on the road, or in the office. Accessing applications and data they need when they need it across everything from a laptop, a smartphone, a desktop, or a tablet. Before, I don't know what happened there. Just let me go back here. Apologize for that. I advanced a little too much there. Before we get into the features of Horizion, we wanted to discuss our journey from the desktop to the mobile cloud and why this latest release of Horizion is such a big deal. And if you have a deep EUC practice within VMware, some of you may have been along with this transition. But if we go back about 10 years, VMware kind of created the VDI term. We created the first real desktop-centric product out there with Horizion View, and its purpose was about delivering the best-in-class desktop experience. And over the last 18 months, we've made significant investments in our EUC portfolio, and this included things like our DAS offering, app volumes, our user environment manager, or UEM, and it also included things like our RDSH published apps and desktops. And a lot of these things were accommodated in Horizion 6. Now we're moving into a brand new addition to the Horizion product. It's built on the foundation of Horizion 6, but we've taken it to the next level with Horizion 7. And with Horizion 6, it was about delivering a platform from an application delivery perspective, RDSH published apps and desktops with a full suite of features and capabilities that gave end users and IT a complete experience that was completely manageable, streamlined, and supported all the user experience capabilities that organizations expect with application delivery. Now with Horizion 7, we're evolving. This is a family of desktop and application virtualization solutions that are designed to deliver Windows and online services from any cloud. It is the first platform to help customers seamlessly make a move to hybrid deployment that can live in the cloud as well as on-premise. And it goes beyond VDI to provide end users with one place to securely access all their desktops, applications, and online services from any device, anywhere. And with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Matt, and he is going to take you through a look of the Horizion portfolio.
Perfect. Thanks, Jez. Thanks, James, for inviting us here to talk a little bit about Horizion 7. This really is an exciting time, in the industry and at VMware. We're seeing a lot of amazing things happen, and Jez touched on some of them. The workspace is constantly evolving, and it's really fun and exciting to kind of be at the forefront and see a lot of these changes take place. But what I'd like to do is take a few minutes to talk about the different editions of Horizion 7, some of the features, and really some of the benefits that you as a customer are going to see as you implement these solutions. So, Chez, if we can progress to the next slide.
Oops.
Oh, a little too far.
I apologize. The slides are not agreeing with me today. Here we go.
Perfect. Okay, so high-level overview right here of the Horizion editions that we have. And so I'll spend just a few minutes talking about some of the benefits that all of these editions have in common, and some of the new things that have happened recently. So you can see there are 4 editions of Horizion 7. We have Horizion for Linux. This is actually a new addition to the product lineup. before it was just standard, advanced, and enterprise. But we've added an addition just for companies that have Linux desktops that they would like to take virtual. Provides the ability to virtualize your Linux desktops and deliver them using our BLAST protocol, which we'll talk a little bit more about here and some of the benefits that you'll get from that. Some of the things that all of these editions have in common, Horizon Standard, Horizon Advanced, Horizon Enterprise, really one of the main benefits that we like to talk about is really the simplicity that you're going to see by deploying VMware Horizon 7 solution versus some of the competition, right? Horizon 7 is built on top of the platform that you all know as vSphere, right? vSphere being the industry-leading hypervisor. Horizon 7 sits right on top of it and is optimized to utilize the underlying hypervisor. So a real tight integration with Horizon 7, a real tight integration with vSphere going to ensure that your Horizon 7 environment is secure, that it's stable, and it's going to work the way you expect it to work, and it's going to be able to utilize a lot of the features that you've grown accustomed to with vSphere. In addition to that, the infrastructure component pieces, right? I mentioned simplicity. Simplicity is huge because what good is all of this technology if at the end of the day you're not able to install it and manage it and keep up with it, right? A lot of the stuff can get really complicated really quickly. Well, with Horizon 7, there are a handful of infrastructure pieces that are standard across the board, for customers that have these solutions. And I won't get too technical or go too deep in here, but just understand that deploying Horizon 7 is fairly simple. It's a matter of deploying a couple of infrastructure servers, a connection server, a security server, and a view manager, and then integrating with your existing Active Directory or other LDAP directory service, and spinning up the desktops and assigning them to users or pools of users. So when we compare the time it takes to set up a Horizon 7 environment versus say the time it takes to set up a Citrix desktop environment, you're going to see that Horizon 7 is deployed much more quickly, which of course is a huge benefit, right? Some of the other things that are common across all of the editions, PC over IP is the protocol that we use to actually deliver the virtual desktops to the end user devices. This is a protocol that is optimized for WAN traffic. So if you have a limited bandwidth situation and maybe you've tried a virtual desktop solution in the past and it hasn't worked quite the way you expected it to because of bandwidth, PC over IP very well might be the answer. There's a lot of functionality or there's a lot of functionality built in that you're able to tweak and customize to fit your needs. So if you have a limited WAN environment for a handful of your field sales reps or field workers, you can actually go in and change the settings so that not as much data is going across the wire. And your virtual desktop will still function optimally, but maybe you don't need to deliver full graphics, or maybe you need to store a little bit more information on the client side versus server side. So without getting too much into the weeds, there is a lot of flexibility in the way you can customize our PC over IP protocol. It's very much optimized for WAN deployments and WAN environments. The other protocol that we use is BLAST. It's essentially the BLAST protocol allows you to access your virtual desktop from any HTML5 browser. So now, if you're using a device that doesn't necessarily have a Horizon 7 View client to establish a PC over IP connection, you can just connect through an HTML5 browser. So now we've gone from supporting a handful of devices, or really many devices that have a client built specifically for them, to supporting any device that supports an HTML5 browser. So really any modern device that you have is likely going to work just fine with Horizon 7, and you're going to be able to access your desktops. And we've reached feature parity. In the past, the BLAST protocol was good, but there were a few limitations. You couldn't use sound. You couldn't necessarily do USB redirection. But we've resolved those issues, and we've met and we've achieved parity with PC PC over IP. Really, the only difference being you have more flexibility in managing the connection with PC over IP. But for all intents and purposes, as far as features are concerned, you're right at the same level, which is a huge benefit, especially for your employees that are maybe wanting to access their virtual desktops from a device that doesn't have a view client on it, ready for it. And then, like I've mentioned briefly before, this all sits on top of vSphere. That's a huge benefit. It's going to ensure that your solution is solid, that it functions the way you expect it to. It's reliable, and utilizes all of the features of the underlying vSphere. So, Chad, you want to move on to the next slide? So I want to dive in a little bit deeper into the specific features that you get at each level or within each edition of Horizon. So Horizon View Standard is where we're going to start. This is basically the solution that you want if your end goal is to deliver powerful virtual desktops with a great user experience, right? And do so in a very simple, easy to deploy, easy to manage manner. With Horizon View Standard, you get all of the things that I just talked about. PC over IP, Blast Protocol is a new feature. Well, it's a evolved version of the protocol. So we're really calling it a new feature because we've reached parity with PC over IP. But in addition, we're basically going to allow you to create your virtual desktops and deliver them to your end users, right? And what could be more simple than that? You have a couple of different options in the way you deliver these desktops. You can set up a persistent desktop so that every time a user logs in, they're going to see the exact same desktop that they're used to. They're going to see all of the customizations that they've made. They're going to see data in their data drive, and it's going to be as if they were using a physical desktop in their cube or laptop on the road. Or you can establish non-persistent desktops. So every time a user logs in, they're going to see the desktop as it exists in its pure original state. And they're going to be able to work and do their job, and then when they log off, all changes that have been made are going to revert back, and the desktop is going to be ready to go the next time they log in or the next time another user logs into it. So persistent versus non-persistent desktops. You can even establish what we call linked clones. If you have 50 users that are all using the exact same copy of a Windows image, then rather than create 50 virtual desktops that might be 5 or 6 or more gigabytes apiece, you can create one that's the full size, and then create clones of it that are much smaller, and you're going to deliver those clones out to your end users. And that technology is called linked clones, and ultimately the benefit there is that you're going to save a tremendous amount of storage space, right? Because storage space is something that you always have to be aware of. Storage, it's less expensive than it was, but it's still a concern in terms of price for a lot of people, and utilizing linked clones is going to help you cut down on cost in terms of storage. The other thing you get with Horizon View Standard is the ability to do packaged applications through ThinApp. So any Windows application, most any Windows application, you're able to encapsulate that application, remove it from the underlying operating system, take all of the DLL files and all of the other little bits and pieces of the operating system that the application needs to run. You're going to encapsulate that, package it all up, and now you're able to deliver that packaged application to your virtual desktops. The use case here being, the use case that we used to always talk about was when Windows 7 came out, and everyone had these applications that would only run on Windows XP, but the business was dictating that they upgrade to Windows 7 for security reasons, and with Windows XP no longer being supported. Well, a lot of companies were struggling with the task of upgrading or evolving their applications to work with Windows 7. Well, what one fix is that you could actually use ThinApp to encapsulate that Windows XP application and then set it on top of a Windows 7 desktop. So the users are all using their Windows 7 desktops, and they're running an application that to them appears to be running on top of Windows 7, but is actually running within its own container. So as a way to really allow companies to move forward with the OS upgrades and not have to worry as much about the applications that they were potentially leaving behind. So that's really, in a nutshell, what you get with Horizon View Standard. It's the baseline, and it provides for powerful delivery, really, exceptional delivery of virtual desktops out to your end users in a variety of deployment options. But Shez, we want to move on and to the next slide. So Horizon Advanced includes, as you might imagine, everything that comes with Horizon View Standard, plus a few extra features. And by a few, there are quite a few, and they're actually quite significant. So moving from Standard to Advanced, you're now talking about not just delivering virtual desktops, but you're also talking about delivering applications. You're also talking about, you're also talking about a unified workspace. You're talking about hosted applications and image management and virtual storage. And I'll touch on each of these in a little bit more detail here. So the first bullet you can see is Identity Manager Standard. That's a new feature. If you're familiar at all with VMware Horizon 6 or earlier, then you may be familiar with Workspace Suite or the Workspace products. And this is essentially the replacement for Workspace. Identity Manager allows for single sign-on across all of your employees or end users' devices, and delivers you a workspace where you have access to all of the applications that the company has provisioned for you, your shared data, and even your virtual desktops. And all of this is achieved through a single pane of glass with a single sign-on. It works tremendously. We use that here at VMware internal, and it makes my life so much easier every day to just log into my Identity Manager workspace, and then I have all of my applications up in front of me, and I just click whatever icons I need to open those in the browser, and I'm off and away, and I don't have to waste a lot of time worrying about getting my applications to work right, or worrying about access and logins and all of that stuff. So Identity Manager delivers you a unified workspace. Hosted applications. Moving on to, kind of switching gears here, when you're in Identity Manager, you're going to see a catalog of applications, because at the end of the day, applications are what drive the business forward and allow us all to do our jobs. Well, with hosted applications, you're now able to deliver not only FinApp applications, but you're now also able to deliver maybe RDSH applications or Citrix XenApp applications to your virtual desktops and to the virtual workspace through Identity Manager. So now you have a lot more flexibility in the types of applications that you're able to deploy, which obviously is a huge benefit, and it's going to allow you to put all of these applications in a single workspace for your employees or your end users. Going to make the experience a lot easier and more simple for them, and they're going to appreciate that tremendously. You still get FinApp packaged applications, like I mentioned. Now you also get the ability to do image management. Now in past iterations of Horizon View, we had what we called local mode, and you were able to essentially check out your virtual desktop from the data center and take it with you on the go, even if you didn't have a reliable internet connection. Well, we've done away with local mode in place of a product that we call Horizon Mirage, which is part of our Horizon Flex product line, which can actually be purchased as standalone. But it's also included in Horizon Advanced for maybe your road warriors or your field reps that don't have a solid internet connection every minute of every day, right? Which is obviously a prerequisite to accessing a virtual desktop back in the data center. With Mirage and image management, you're able to create a managed image of Windows and deliver it out to the end user's laptop. And all of the processing happens on the local laptop, but the image is managed in such a way that there are 3 layers: the operating system layer, the data layer, and the application layer. And each layer is managed independently and backed up to the data center whenever there is a solid internet connection. So it's different than a virtual desktop, but the end result is very much the same. If your road warrior loses his laptop, or the laptop is destroyed or something happens to it, becomes unusable, there is a full backup of that image back in the data center that is ready to be redeployed to another device. And we're not particular about which device it is. If you're using a Dell laptop and your Dell laptop breaks, you don't necessarily have to go get that same Dell laptop in order for your Windows image to work. You can get a different laptop. So a lot of flexibility there for not only delivering virtual desktops that are coming from the data center, but also managing images locally. The last piece is virtual SAN. Now, some of you are probably familiar with virtual SAN. This is the solution that we at VMware have that allows you to convert local storage in your servers into shared storage. Some of the benchmarks that we're seeing are just tremendous in terms of IOPS and performance and capacity. You can have all flash deployments that are achieving upwards of 100,000 IOPS per server in your environment. That just provides tremendous performance and tremendous speed, especially in a virtual desktop environment. And at the Horizon Advanced level, virtual SAN is included, so you wouldn't have to purchase it as a separate license if you wanted to utilize virtual SAN for your shared storage. All right, Shez, if we want to move on to the next slide. So the last one I'm going to talk about is Horizon Enterprise. Now, Horizon Enterprise really, when you're deploying Horizon Enterprise, you're at the point where you essentially want a highly automated private cloud on premise in your environment. You're going to get obviously all of the same features that you would get in the standard level and the advanced level, plus things like instant cloning technology. Instant clones is a vSphere feature that came out in version 6, VSXi, that allows you to essentially, it's almost like you're doing a linked clone, but instantly. It's a pretty impressive technology that we won't dive too much into the details. It's probably not important for this call, but the benefit of instant clone technology is that now you can deliver someone a virtual workspace environment, desktop included, instantly. You've done a little bit of work beforehand to create a template, and as soon as someone needs workspace provisioned, you're able to give it to them without any delay, which is tremendous in terms of reducing the amount of time that it takes to get a new user set up in your environment, or to reassign someone, give someone a different virtual desktop based on a role change or based on a new application being delivered, or whatever the case may be. So we're really cutting down the amount of time IT has to spend on some of these menial tasks. Application volumes. App volumes is a feature that allows you to deliver application stacks, not only to Horizon, but to any other environment that you may have, an RDSH environment, Citrix environment. We work with the competition, but app volumes, as it can be purchased as a standalone product, is included with Horizon Enterprise. A lot of benefits around application volumes, and we don't have time to go into all of them because that would probably take a good long while. But at the end of the day, you're able to create these, like I mentioned, stacks of applications. So in a single application stack, you may have 5 applications that pertain to a particular line of business. And rather than go in and install those applications on each virtual desktop, you're going to install them once into this application stack. And then when you're creating your virtual desktop, you're going to assign it access to these applications in the application stack, either the entire stack or individual applications within the stack. And App Volumes is smart enough to save the persistent user information, so that even though multiple users are utilizing the same application from the app stack, they all have their persistent data. This adds a lot of flexibility. Like I say, the alternative is essentially installing each application on each virtual desktop and managing each application on each desktop, and that's just as time consuming as it would be running physical desktops, right? And so there's not a lot of benefit there, but deploying App Volumes is again going to drastically reduce the amount of time that you spend on some of these menial tasks. Something else you get with Horizon Enterprise, since you're at the point with Horizon Enterprise where you've got a large environment, theoretically, you're at the point where you need automation, you need private cloud type capabilities, and managing all of that. That's a task in and of itself. vRealize Ops for Horizon is something that we include with Horizon Enterprise that helps you gain a much tighter grasp on how healthy your virtual desktop environment is, how well it's performing, how well you're utilizing space and physical resources. It's going to alert you to problems before they become a problem. If some virtual desktops or a desktop pool is exhibiting errant behavior that's going to cause you to run out of, say, storage in a week or two, it's going to flag that. It's going to say, hey, take a look at these desktops. They're not acting the way they should, per the analytics that we've done and the things that we've observed. And it's going to give you the chance to rectify the situation before it causes your storage to go down. And it's not just storage. You're able to see what users are consuming more bandwidth than normal. That's going to help you make intelligent decisions around your design and your utilization. Maybe you have a server that's fairly underutilized, and you need to add virtual desktops, and you were planning on buying another server, but now you realize that you don't have to because you have plenty of space on your current hardware. So it's going to give you a lot of insight into your environment, stuff that it's possible to do a lot of this stuff without vRealize Ops for Horizon, but it's going to take a whole lot of time and effort, and in all honesty, you're not going to be as accurate as you would be if you were using vRealize Ops for Horizon. Quickly, two other things. User Environment Manager is the piece that we use to ensure that users have a similar experience across all of their virtual desktops, across all of their devices, and all of their applications. So saving settings, things as simple as the default window size for Photoshop or the default window size for your browser is going to be the same whether you're accessing a virtual desktop through PC over IP on a client or on a tablet through the BLAST protocol. User Environment Manager is what is going to deliver real consistency, which most employees and end users really want to see in a virtual deployment. And then at the Horizon Enterprise level, you are also able to deploy Linux virtual desktops in case you have a mixed Windows Linux environment. So that was a lot of information, we could spend a few hours probably on each feature in each edition. So high level stuff here, but hopefully it gives you an idea of what comes with each edition and what some of the benefits are going to be for you at each level. Depending on the current stage of your virtualization journey and your needs as a customer. So Shez, with that, I'll throw it back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt. Okay, we're going to just review a couple of case studies from a couple of partners who have enabled Horizion into their environments and just kind of give you a general idea of some of the few things that it can do. The first one here is Buffalo Public Schools. This is a large urban school district that's located in Buffalo, New York. It serves 35,000 students and 3,500 faculty members between 55 schools. So one of the challenges that they were facing, they were dealing with aging systems that required constant maintenance. They were difficult to upgrade, so they had to deal with outdated software, insufficient access for devices, and an inconsistency in user experiences across their campuses and classrooms. Between the onset of tablets and other personal computing devices, the growing demand for mobile access to applications and data, and the adoption of computer-based testing, it made it very difficult for them to keep up with the rapid changes of technology. And in addition to this, the district's IT team needed to provide their students with access to the latest software, extend the service to nearly 20,000 aging PC systems. And software versions varied across the machines, and most were slow to boot and load, which was really frustrating for the faculty, and the students. But the biggest challenge was the urgent requirement to scale the number of computing devices. So students, teachers, and the administration, they all needed more access, greater personalization, a more constant user experience, and they needed it in more locations, both within and outside of the school, within their classrooms, computer labs, libraries, community centers, and being able to access it in their homes as well. So the solution, their IT team deployed a VDI solution that was based on Horizion to 12,000 concurrent users. For those who may not know, a concurrent user is an environment with multiple users that share the same machine throughout the day. So they deployed the VDI solution to 12,000 concurrent users. This, securely delivered virtualized and remote desktops and applications to their students and the administration through the single platform and a unified workspace. So now they were able to provide a consistent user experience across all devices, no matter what location they were in, and to the connections as well. They were able to enable, access again anytime, anywhere, any device. The students and the faculty had a consistent experience with all the personalization and customizations, just as they would on their physical desktops. So, Horizion gave the Buffalo School District several years of additional service from their older PCs. They were able to improve security and streamline new application deployment. The teachers were given, more flexible support for new instructional models. They were able to gain an always available virtual desktop, to give their students constant access to, any podcasts, webinars, any instructional videos that they need to review at home. They were able to work on class projects at home as well. So Horizion definitely, helped out the school district and, expand into their technology, and so that they can provide that benefit to the faculty and their students. Another one we have here is NetApp. You guys may be familiar with them. They're, a global workforce of more than 12,000 employees and more than 150 offices worldwide. They're based out of Sunnyvale, California. And they rely on their product engineering team to build code for their products and test solutions before the release. And so one of the challenges that they had was their engineers often worked while they were traveling, and they had and having their work readily accessible from multiple devices was ideal for them to increase their productivity. At the time, they could only edit information that was stored locally on the company-provided computers, which limited where and when they could work. Security was also very important. If one of those devices was lost or stolen, there would be major consequences for the company. Their code for their solutions are on these systems. So they considered a desktop virtualization solution to increase the employees' productivity, provide them with flexibility to access their work from any device while also protecting their property. They wanted to improve their security within the engineering environment with, secure virtual desktops to enhance their productivity and provide access to resources from anywhere. They were also in need of centralized desktop management to quickly deliver a desktop environment to employees and simplify employee workflow. So the solution that they came up with, they were given a time frame of 2 weeks to outfit more than 8,000 employees in 4 sites with virtual desktops. And with Horizon, they were able to exceed their goal of 8,000 by equipping almost 10,000 employees within a 12-day time frame. So, it just goes back to that, the quick deployment that's offered with that. The engineers were provided a centralized desktop management for, quicker performance and updates, as well as secured access to the company's source codes and persistent desktops across their existing laptops and mobile devices. And in addition to the engineers, the employees were able to access both persistent and non-persistent environments that were configured by NetApp, which provided, their internal documentation on demand. And they had access to use any device they wanted from anywhere, whether it was company issued or their personal device. So VMware and NetApp solutions together, provided, IT security, employee workflow flexibility, and infrastructure scalability to support the current and virtualization needs of the company. So, that's another, great look into this and how Horizon, it's quick to deploy and also, it takes care of the needs of large companies, at a quick pace. So, and that is what we have. So, James, I'm not sure if you had any questions come in throughout the presentation, or if you have any questions.
I just have a few questions here, Shaz. I'll share them and let me know. So, at one point, Matt was talking about cloning and how it saves storage. Can you just go into a little bit more detail about how cloning saves storage? Is not the data duplicated when a clone is made?
I'm sorry, could you repeat just the last part of that?
Yes, is not the data of that device, is it not duplicated in order to make the clone? Or is there some sharing happening there?
So the way it works is, it's basically you're creating one master image or golden image that's, the full size of the desktop, and then everything that is redundant in that, if you need to deliver that more or less that same desktop out to 50 people, then you only are going to save one copy of that desktop, but you're going to create these little clones, and the clones are a fraction of the size. I'd have to do a little bit of research to see exactly how that breaks down and what data exactly is needed to make the clone work. But they're a fraction of the size, and each clone is essentially referencing that golden image to provide the data and the information that the user needs to access the desktop. And all the clones have access to that golden image at the same time, and so you're never fighting for access to the golden image or anything. To the user that's logged into their desktop, they can't tell that it's a clone desktop by any means. So what it does for your storage is it means that you only have to save one golden image, which is the full 6 gigabyte or whatever it is image of the virtual machine, and then a bunch of tiny little clones. So it's 50 tiny little clones versus 50 copies of that golden image. Does that make sense? Does that answer what you're looking for? Or
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Matt. Good.
Yeah.
So just one more question then that I have, I think probably for Shez. Shez, for somebody who already has, a full physical desktop infrastructure, when is a good time for that company to start making a transition to Horizon? And is there like a recommended minimum number of virtual machines during that transition period for it to be valuable?
Shez, you want to take this one, or do you want me to give it a whack?
Matt, if you can go ahead and take that one, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've seen is that it varies wildly. most any company that has physical desktops right now is a good candidate for virtualizing their desktops. I really haven't. I mean, maybe you'd put a minimum of like 10 in there or something like that. But I've seen a company virtualize 5 desktops before. That's probably the smallest deployment I've ever seen, but it worked for them just because it's not necessarily so much about the number of desktops that you're virtualizing. It's about the flexibility and the features that you're gaining through virtualization. It's the security, it's the backup, it's the ability to access your desktop from anywhere and multiple devices. It's the security in knowing that you're running on top of vSphere. So that there's a lot more that goes into it. But I would say really any company that has a fleet, I guess if you will, of physical desktops is a good candidate. What we usually recommend doing is starting with a pilot of say 10 or 15, and making sure that you are that you're designing the environment right, that you have the right server hardware in mind, and that you're getting the performance that you need to get. So the getting started phase is usually a pilot for a couple weeks. Sometimes you don't even need a couple weeks for the pilot, but a pilot of 10 or so users to get going, and then you build out a plan to grow and expand until you have all of your physical desktops converted.
Excellent. Very good.
Yep.
Okay. Wonderful. Matt, Shez, do you have any closing thoughts, or is that pretty much it for today?
At least from my perspective, that's pretty much it. I mean, I know we covered a lot of information, but I'm always happy to have follow-up calls, and if anyone on the line wants to have a one-off discussion with James's team and either Shez or myself, happy to have those conversations. So I think that's all for me, though.
Great, excellent.
Yeah, that's exactly pretty much what I was going to say as well. We're here to provide any assistance that we can. So if you guys need any additional training on the information that we provided today, we can do that.
Okay, wonderful. And just like Shez and Matt, Advanticom's team is also always there to help. Willing to set up any meetings or further study into this particular line of product and solution, along with the VMware team to get it implemented for your organization. So thank you everybody for joining the call today, and we'll see you again sometime soon.